welcome back to the Chadvika channel, everyone, where we break down the daily news, politics, and policy, and I am your Chad host. So today we're going to see a little bit of validation that I got from yesterday's stream by none other than 10 Brain Bill Burr, one of my favorite comedians. We're also going to shift focus to Texas, the Beavis to Ron DeSantis' butthead, Greg Abbott. See the moves that he's making following lawsuits to continue to hamstring mask mandates. And then we're going to touch on Prager U, his latest stream.
Hey, what's going on? It's Bill Burr, and it's time for the Monday morning podcast for Monday, August 9th, 2021. What's going on? How are ya? How's it going with you? How you hanging in there? Jesus Christ. I got to give a shout out right now to news junkies. I don't know how you guys do it. I don't know how the fuck do you just sit around staying informed? Look at this shit. Jesus Christ. Like, I looked up, I don't feel like I didn't really do much this week. Nothing that exciting. I got to talk to myself for an hour. What am I going to fucking talk about? Let's see what's in the news.
I know that pain.
Dixie Fire mushrooms into second largest wildfire in California history. Dixie Fire continues to burn, but these residents are staying. Dixie Fire rages into Northern California record books. Biden's infrastructure bill crawls towards Senate passage. Is anything that's and then I don't know.
Keep in mind this did come out on Monday, hence the Monday morning podcast.
I want to get into all that politics. DeSantis, whoever this guy is, and they have the most grumpiest looking photo ever. This guy is starting to build his stature in 2024. And he says he disagrees on mask mandates. These kids aren't wearing masks. The amount of people who not only don't even own a microscope or even have a pair of scrubs, unless they went to some Halloween party, who are literally questioning doctors. It's just, at this point, it's just hilarious. What do you know? These fucking piece of shit politicians. He knows that that's what his fan base wants him to do, so that's what the fuck he's gonna do. Unbelievable.
I couldn't have said it better myself, Mr. Burr. It's nice to get a little bit of validation. Let's take a look at what's going on in the great state of Texas.
Overflow tents are now being set up outside LBJ Hospital in Houston, Texas, a site we thought we'd seen the last of. A new CDC forecast says COVID hospitalizations could quadruple by Labor Day to more than 33,000 admissions a day. This as healthcare workers are already overwhelmed with patients. Marcus Moore has the latest.
This morning, the Delta variant surging across parts of the South.
You're just seeing this firestorm across the South that's basically picking off anyone who's unvaccinated. A significant percentage now are going into hospitals and going into ICUs.
Overflow tents erected in Houston, and in North Texas, the region down to only 2 pediatric ICU beds.
These are not just for COVID. Car wrecks and
It's almost like we've heard this story before. The ideal ticket for 2024 for these people at this point, if Trump doesn't run, is DeSantis, Greg Abbott. Just the two dumbest, Trumpiest Republicans they could find.
anything else. If your child needs ICU and a ventilator in a 19-county area, we have 2.
After banning mask mandates across the state, Texas Governor Greg Abbott now asking hospitals to stop non-emergency surgeries to make room for COVID patients.
Nobody else understands what it's like to work in an ICU right now. The countless death that we're seeing, we're not making a difference anymore. I feel like we've lost this fight.
And now concern is growing about what this means for unvaccinated children as they head back to school. In Dallas, the school district defying Governor Abbott's orders, officially rolling out a mask mandate Tuesday.
There are consequences for whatever actions you take, and I'd rather...
So these school boards are now trying to defy the governor and put into place mask mandates like they should. And of course, what does Greg Boy do? This afternoon, I saw an alert on my phone. It says Texas governor files legal challenge to end Dallas County mask mandate. Texas Governor Greg Abbott and the State Attorney General Ken Paxton on Wednesday filed a petition to halt a judge's order requiring face masks inside schools and businesses in Dallas County. The order was signed despite Abbott previously banning government entities and officials for implementing mask mandates in Texas. He's suing the school districts who are now putting in place mask mandates to keep these kids safe from the Delta variant, and that we just saw yesterday is up 300-400% in some counties in Florida, and 87% week over week of kids getting infected and hospitalized in these areas. I don't know what kind of smack in the head these people need to understand they're going to kill kids in their state, but they seem to want to placate to the base and just let people die, especially kids. A federal mandate would be great. They're not going to follow it. We've banged our head up against the wall for just about long enough. Cenk Uygur had a good take. He just said he's throwing his hands up with these people. What are we going to do with them? Right now, we're in the warm season where people are outside not spreading it. Once it starts to get cold out, just like we saw last year, people are going to start gathering inside more often. We're going to see another spike in cases, as we're already seeing a rise during the hottest days of the summer, the dog days of August. Let's do Tommy Tuberville, the esteemed senator from Alabama, take on Cory Booker of my great state of New Jersey. Let's see this video of him on the Senate floor.
On the Senate floor, Alabama Republican Senator Tommy Tuberville called for a vote on an amendment that would punish local jurisdictions that defund the police. His idea was to put Democrats on the record on the issue. But perhaps that effort backfired after Democratic Senator Cory Booker responded by celebrating the amendment. This is how it played out.
Now, keep in mind, Tommy Tuberville you don't have to be a great mind to work in the Senate or the House of Representatives. His esteemed accolades before this was originally coaching at Ole Miss, then Auburn, Texas Tech, and Cincinnati. He was a football coach, and he won a coaching award in, I think, 2004 for his 13-0 season at Auburn. This is the man's credentials. He's not an agile political animal. So let's see how he's going to try to trap Democrats in this defund the police effort on the Senate floor.
I call on my colleagues to support our law enforcement by voting yes for this amendment. Opposing my amendment is a vote in support of defunding the police and against the men and women in blue.
The gentleman's time has expired.
Madam President.
Senator from New Jersey.
I am so excited. This is perhaps the highlight of this long and painful and torturous night. This is a gift. If it wasn't complete abdication of Senate procedures and esteem, I would walk over there and hug my colleague from Alabama. And I will tell you right now, thank God, because there's some people who have said that they're members of this deliberative body that want to defund the police, to my horror. And now this senator has given us the gift that finally, once and for all, we can put to bed this scurrilous accusation that somebody in this great esteemed body would want to defund the police. So let all of us, 100 people, not walk, but sashay down there and vote for this amendment and put to rest the lies. And I am sure I will see no political ads attacking anybody here over defund the police. And I would ask unanimous consent to add something else to this obvious bill. Can we add also that every senator here wants to defund the police, believes in God, country, and apple pie? Thank you.
Sashay.
I know, that's what stood out to me, sashay.
So I saw a lot of leftist takes on Cory Booker, who, of course, they can't stand him. I am a little bit partial to him. I followed Cory Booker's career for a long time, ever since he was mayor of Newark. So in my eyes, he's still the guy that ran into a burning building to save a dog. So I'm a little bit biased here. Again, the notion of defund the police, it's not a winning strategy. And I'm constantly torn between what my electoral beliefs are, what is actually going to get people elected and Democrats elected, and hopefully progressives elected, and what I actually and philosophically, ideologically believe. I think what he's actually saying there is that nobody wants to defund the police. Nobody ever wanted to defund the police. We wanted to reallocate funds from armed officers to more mental health professionals, organizations that actually don't need weapons when they are conducting their civic duties, like traffic stops. Why are traffic stops held up at gunpoint? Why are we arming the situation? There's so many times that we are escalating the situation with armed uniformed police officers when it just doesn't, we don't need to. I mean, we can have them accompany health professionals to mental health calls, but we don't need just some kid out of high school with 2 to 6 weeks of training trying to de-escalate a situation that requires a social worker. Nobody really ever wanted to defund the police except for the radicalist socialists or anarchists. And I know they'll they'll argue with me for hours that anarchy is, just flattening the structure as opposed to a hierarchical structure. I understand the definitional meaning of anarchy. I get it. At the same time, we still do need to live in a civil society, and the message of defunding police officers or police departments is not going to get you elected. And this whole idea really sent me down a rabbit hole, and I wasn't sure if I wanted to touch on it. And it just brings me back to what the original theory of broken windows policing is. What I was taught in college, in my political science classes and sociology classes, the broken windows theory states that visible signs of disorder and misbehavior in a community, a broken window, encourages further disorder and misbehavior, leading to serious crimes. The principle was developed to explain the decay of neighborhoods, but is often applied to the work of education and educational environments. What is broken windows theory? Argues that no matter how rich or poor a neighborhood, one broken window would soon lead to many more windows being broken. One unrepaired window is a signal that no one cares, and so breaking more windows costs nothing to you, meaning it costs nothing to you socially. Once you continue to walk down your neighborhood and your streets, seeing broken windows, abandoned buildings, abandoned cars, public works not being maintained, parks not being maintained, that inherently leads to higher crime. And in this theory, the correlation between quote-unquote broken windows and crime were linked. When broken windows went into practice in theory, I saw it as a complete bastardization of the theory. What you can draw from this idea is if the disarray of the community that people are in is causing a higher crime rate and they are correlative or even causative, then why not just reinvest in the community? That's what I took the broken windows theory to mean. And it would stand to reason that based on this definition, that would be a proper way to remedy that situation. Because the nicer kind of community you live in, the prouder you are, the more involved you want to be. You don't want to, destroy the nice things that you are a part of. You don't want to live in an area that has abandoned buildings and public works going to shit. So a reinvestment in these communities would lead to less crime in these areas. But when Giuliani took office, he took the broken windows theory to mean we're just going to send more police into these areas. And when Michael Bloomberg got elected in New York City, he took it to a whole nother level because he made his complete fortune on analytics, market analytics. So he took the already self-fulfilling prophecy of over-policing in the area that Giuliani had, ramped it up because now he was taking the data from these areas that said, hey, these are high crime areas because the culture and society that was already there was being broken apart by a paramilitary force, and he used that data to continue to police heavily. So once that wheel started turning, it never stopped. When this whole time, the notion that you could draw from this theory is just reinvest in the community, not keep throwing police at the community to continue to tear it apart, which then again led me to another idea, which was prevalent in the news today, the drawdown in Afghanistan. And the parallel that I want to draw here is not that these neighborhoods or the crime that is happening are on par with each other. They are extremely different. The war in Afghanistan is to the nth degree more extreme than gang violence or crime in an inner city area. We're talking about actual military forces and paramilitary adversaries going at it against the United States military. So I wanted to see the latest surveys from the New York mayoral election to see if people actually still wanted to increase policing, because now these people are reliant upon the police departments that are keeping them safe, since this, again, the self-fulfilling prophecy kept that wheel turning. So once all of the role models in that area were taken out of the community and put into prison, the more people relied on this police force to keep them safe. So it makes sense that people would want to keep police forces and actually add police to these quote-unquote liberal areas. This is what we saw in the Eric Adams election in New York, the one who just won the Democratic primary. So I wanted to see if that idea was reflected in the Afghani people. Do they actually want us to leave, or do they want us to stay? So here was a survey back in 2020, the Military Times, saying, nearly half of Afghans want U.S. troops out after Taliban peace deal. So this was going on during the Taliban talks with the Trump administration, which obviously did not go very well or very far. The survey found that 46% of Afghans want U.S. and NATO troops out of the country once a deal is struck, while 33%, which I thought was pretty high, would have them stay. What I am inferring from this data is that this 33% is now reliant upon the insurgent force that broke up their communities and their country in the first place. So then going farther down the rabbit hole, NYC voters want more cops, but are sharply divided on how. So this is pre-Eric Adams' win in the New York primaries. Of all the options to reduce crime before voters, shifting police funding to mental health is the single most popular choice. Again, not defunding the police, but shifting resources. And while more voters overall want to increase police presence in the community, in some ways they are divided about how. The amount of people that want to increase a police force in New York City found 33%. People who are reliant upon the paramilitary force that helped break up their communities in the first place. I thought that was very analogous, just on a superficial level, to maybe help people understand when you try to dilute policing and over-policing in areas to culture, or they just need to pull themselves up by their bootstraps. Even a country like Afghanistan that even right-wingers would agree we have completely bungled through 3 administrations going on 4 now. George Bush, Barack Obama, Trump, and now Biden. For 20 years, we've completely bungled that situation, which they would agree with wholeheartedly. And when you take that same analogy, okay, so the people that still want us to go, the majority, just like the majority of people here think that we should shift to mental health issues, there are still a good percentage of them that rely on this security force. So even in a country where we've completely torn it apart for decades now, they still need that policing, that military force to protect them because of what we did. Just like in New York, where they need more police there because of the destruction that the police departments had wrought. Now, that's just a rabbit hole that I kind of went down. Again, I'm not equating New York City to the battles in Afghanistan, but they seemed like 2 very relevant topics that happened to coalesce at the same time, and I wanted to synthesize that data to try to broaden people's perspective on why people who are being over-policed might want more police. I keep saying I'm going to do a Prager U video, and there's no way I'm going to get through all of this. Here's their new streaming service. The whistleblower exposes racist CRT at American Express. You know, the liberal bastion that is American Express.
Thank you for calling American Express, a credit card company dedicated to anti-capitalism and anti-racism. How may I help you?
Hey, thank you so much. I was just at the grocery store at Ralph's, and I was trying to buy 30 cantaloupes, and when I went to buy my cantaloupes...
I did see that guy talk about 30 cantaloupes. He's the motherfucker from the math problems. I get it's satire and tongue-in-cheek, but...
my card got declined. You know anything about that?
Interesting purchase, sir. I can look right into that. What is your first and last name?
Will Ekpanobi.
Okay, Mr. Will Ekpanobi. Let me look into... Oh, sorry. Ekpanobi. I'm putting that in right as we speak. It seems like your account has overdrafted. There has been an extraneous fee of about $300 taken out of your account.
Does American Express have overdraft fees? I thought they were just a credit card company. I thought you just hit your credit limit and that's it. You can't use your credit card anymore. It's American Express. I didn't know they did retail banking.
$100?
Yes.
For why?
Let me look into that, sir. It seems as though the $300 was taken as part of our reparations program. It's going to go to an underprivileged black family.
I didn't agree to that.
Oh, but you did, sir. Are you not white, sir?
Yeah, I'm white, but what does that have to do with anything?
Oh, it's just, you know, the ancestral ties to slavery means that we need to take this $300 out for reparations.
I have a perfect credit score. I pay my bills on time. Why would this happen to me?
It happened to you not because of all those extraneous things. It's happened to you because you're white, sir.
Yeah, who the fuck thinks that this is happening? I guarantee what they're going to talk about here is that they did a Robin DiAngelo white fragility seminar, and now they're saying that they're going to be taking money out of your American Express account, which is a credit card to begin with, and not a retail banking system.
This is gobbledygook.
Is there anything else you need from me, sir?
I want my money back. It's my money, and I want it now.
Unfortunately, you're not going to get that money back, sir.
It never was your money. It's a credit card. It's a loan.
It's already going to that family, so.
I know a lot of black people.
Sure, okay. I don't get how that's relevant.
Please, give me my money back.
Sir, would you consider yourself an ally to the black community and an anti-racist?
I guess so.
I know a lot
Okay, and what status do you have to back that up? Have you worked in any social justice movements?
No.
Okay, sir.
I'm just not racist.
Let me go ahead and tell you that $300 is not going back into your account. Now, I can close out your credit card membership with American Express, but I can't do anything other than that.
No,
Trin, like I think she prepared. He is either deviating from the script, didn't read it, or trying to do improv, but he's really fucking bad at it.
Give me my money.
I'm so sorry,
sick
sir.
woman.
I'm gonna have to hang up on you.
I think it's improv.
I don't have to do it. I don't know what to do.
I want my cantaloupes.
Okay, I'm hanging up, sir. Goodbye. And scene. Wow.
Might have been the best skit we've ever done.
I thought it was never going to end.
We all.
Who wanted it to end? I mean, really.
Nobody wanted it to end. That's why we kept doing it.
You guys say hi to Instagram, show. Hi, Instagram.
Hello, Instagram. We're live right now, and that little skit that we started out with is going to lead us into our first story. You know this guy by the name of Christopher Rufo. He's a man that we all know and we all love. He is an expert on CRT. He's currently working at the Manhattan Institute in New York. But here's the scoop that he put out. Let's read this tweet. Scoop: American Express Corporation has launched a critical race theory training program that teaches employees capitalism is fundamentally racist and asks them to deconstruct their racial and sexual identities. Then
Okay, I mean, so they're just going to cover the Coca-Cola story again. I mean, I don't know. I've heard the name Christopher Rufo many times. I think he is just going to agitate, we're just going to label everything that we don't like as critical race theory. Anything that has to do with equality for African Americans, people of color, anything that has to do with that, we're just going to label critical race theory and trying to make people aware of our history and our struggle for equality. So I think anytime that comes up, that he just, fucking tweets it out. Some real hard-hitting journalism here. So yeah, I mean, this is kind of even a waste of time. I'm going to keep going for a little bit.
Rank themselves on a hierarchy of privilege. Here's the story. First impressions before I even get into what they're actually training. This is ridiculous for a credit card company, a very well-known credit card company here in America, to say that capitalism is fundamentally racist when their entire corporation runs on nothing but sheer capitalism.
Wait. But even if you're a capitalistic entity, you can still recognize that capitalism historically has been racist. Just because a mortgage company wants to point out the racist history with redlining, it's not a hypocritical stance to be like, yeah, mortgages and housing has been racist in the past, and here's how we want to address them. And you're just going to shrug it off like, but you're the mortgage company. What does that have to do with anything? Right, if you make money via capitalism, and then capitalism therefore is not racist. So if you're black and you live in a capitalistic society and you make money in that capitalistic society, ipso facto, capitalism is not racist. I was very evident in the way that the first guy said, but I know black people. Like, oh, I see. I'm sorry, we're putting that $300 hypothetical dollars back into your non-existent retail account because we're American fucking Express and we don't do retail banking.
Is beyond me. So now what they're asking their employees to do is, again, state their racial identity, state their sexual identity, and then they need to tier themselves on a hierarchy of power. Of course, a white heterosexual male is going to have the most power, and anybody else underneath that is going to be low. So Will and Taylor, you guys are doing great.
Because we're low on power or high on power?
You're high on power.
I feel high on power. But that's just
as you should. As you should.
I don't think that's power, Will.
That's not. That was from 20 minutes.
Heathen on Prager U. He's stoned off his ass. He's gonna be fired. I'm high on power. I don't think that's power, Will. Mr. Dennis Prager's gonna see this and lay the fucking hammer on this guy. He's gonna be living on the streets soon.
Minutes ago. No, I don't feel high on power because of my whiteness. I feel high on power because I'm a responsible American with my credit card and my expenses.
But
I feel like that should be much more important than your racism.
What's much more important than that is being...
And when you mentioned his credit score earlier, which is why people still say that there is structural and inherent racism in housing and in capitalism and in trying to gain more capital and intergenerational wealth. So you're more likely to get a loan from a bank to up your credit score, and they're more willing to up your credit limits if you're white, which is statistically proven. So once you spend and pay back that capital, your credit score goes up. But if institutions are not lending you those funds in order to up your credit score, you have a low credit score, and then you cannot gain access to capital. Again, it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. Ingraining the same racial issues as redlining, it's just with more flowery language. If the ends are the fucking same, and I'm not a strict utilitarian, even if you use a different language in the legislation, but you're getting the same outcome, just like, which is analogous and has nothing to do with capitalism, but in North Carolina, where they wanted a voter ID law, and the Supreme Court ruled that they used surgical precision to disenfranchise black voters without using the words black people can't vote. The ends were the same, so it doesn't matter that they didn't say African Americans can't do XYZ, or Latinos, or people of color.
An ally to the black community.
I don't know about that, Alma.
That's what they're telling me, and they can't be wrong. It's
No,
American
they can't
Express.
be wrong. American Express, a credit card company, obviously knows better than the American people about these things. But it's more just woke pandering. I hate companies nothing grinds my gears, okay? Nothing grinds my gears more than woke companies coming out and saying how woke they are, how much they care about these types of things, about racism or climate change or whatever else other leftist cause that it might be, and then going around their executives totally slamming the doors in people's faces and not even living up to the standards that they profess. They do things behind closed doors that are totally anti-leftist or totally anti the things that they're pushing.
Oh, you could not be more right. Let's look at...
I mean, all right. I don't think I gotta watch the rest of this because we already know what this is. These are CEOs who are trying to cover their ass and do these racial sensitivity training so they don't get sued. So they hire these companies like Robin DiAngelo, pay them exorbitant amounts of money. Yeah, exactly. How do you know that? Because Christopher Rufo, whoever the fuck that guy is, tweeted? Is that the whistleblower that they're talking about? I don't know. Regardless, it's CEOs trying to cover their ass with liability. So they pay these consultants to come in, give some critical race theory training, which isn't actually CRT at all. So they can say, you know what? We're going to put your pronouns in your bio. Everybody get off my ass while we still continue to perpetuate the inequality in society. That's fucking it. We'll revisit Prager U sometime down the line if we can stomach it. Thank you all for joining. It's been a pleasure. You can catch me Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, and I will see you all then.